Alright, well, I noticed the public dialogue server videos don't really get that much attention and views or the reaction. Normally I don't care about views, but I thought I would pay attention to that because this is about gauging support. So we're in this funny situation where, I theoretically am pushing this, but I feel like I'm the Johnny come lately. A lot of people I've watched from TJ on try and fail at these things. We have a couple of people making indexer sites, and I honestly feel like, well, I have the skills, I should make this happen. I mean, TJ had what, $14,000? That totally could have happened. That's a couple years of a full-on video server. Well, no, it is not for TJ. I mean, TJ wanted 1,000 regular video producers. Okay, then that's about right. It might even not be quite enough, but he could easily have 300. So more than enough to start it off, and it still can't pull off. So I know I could pull it off, but what do I get out of it? Well, I get a server I think is necessary, but I'm not running afoul of YouTube, and I'm making this tier 2 kind of site that's using YouTube, and it'll use Flow Player and the video tag, and I can just make one where it uses servers that are already out there. And I'll say in a second why I think this is something that we need in the long run. After 30 years I've been doing this kind of discussion, since I was 13, 14. And so it does seem necessary to me, but it's waited this long, and I'm going to get like 100 hours of work I have to do, plus I'll continually have to watch it and put more work to upgrade it. Now, because of this design of doing open source software for it, we're lucky. It's limited. It's not like if I was making the software from scratch and it would be thousands of hours. So that's a budgetable amount of time, and I'm not making a big whine that it's a huge infinite amount of time. And but it is work. And so, for example, if somebody were just to fund me the money and buy the machine and whatnot, that's not that satisfactory. I don't want, like, why would I spend that effort? It's not for the joy of setting a machine up. I've done that plenty. It's so that there would be a community. I want there to be at least 20 or 30 people that have a conversation on there. To me, if they're true public conversants, not just ponemeisters and not just lecturers and not just stand-up comedians, but conversants, then to me that's a critical mass conversation. That will be an interesting group of people to throw up ideas against and with. Throw up. To do this thing with. Now, yeah, I'd like to be thousands, and that's why I like my tier 2 site. It's not like you'd only use this site. If I was here, I would probably still use YouTube, but then again, I'm planning at the secondary software I'm making that already uses YouTube to have that be an interface where you can go both places. So you could use our server, and you'd still be putting your video up there for other new participants to have access to, since it's always going to be other sites that have the big mainstream. So the way I see it, it'd always be nice. This thing should take, the public dialogue takes part everywhere. Not creating a server that's going to be the only public dialogue, which is maybe another reason to alter the name, which we're thinking of names. I got good feedback on that. Gary Stickum Room does give good feedback on this subject. But anyway, so be that as it may, I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to write up some articles of organization. I also looked up, since I budgeted the legal stuff on the idea of past looking into it, but I was thinking more of California prices, where it costs like $400 or $500 to file for incorporation, and it's enough paperwork. You end up wanting a lawyer who can do it pretty easily. So like I said, you give it a grant. Did I mention this in that other video? Anyway, I think maybe I did. So I actually want to start an LLC for myself. And like that would own the secondary site and some of these projects. I think it might be nice to do that since it's only at $50 to file those. But maybe yeah, I consider just creating an LLC for the public dialogue server idea, but actually paying an extra $100 so that I could use an online form, because they'll do the name search and just make sure it's not as messy. Like for my own company, if it turned out, oh, you have to change your name, and you know, come back 3 months later, fine. But here I don't want that kind of thing. So I was thinking of doing that before, because I'm pretty sure that that's what we want for phase one, an LLC, that is. So I don't know if I will file it, if I will create it, but there's advantages to creating it and having it be the one, you know, pre-exist before Indiegogo completed. Anyway, I'll put up those articles. They're going to be something about you know, with the partners, the actual partners that have to worry on their taxes about being partners, on their role. Plus, I will mention the advisory advisement committee of, you know, that determines how administrative actions will be performed, and that'll have representatives, as I mentioned. I know I mentioned this part before, from the viewers and whatnot, from the participants, and that will include, you know, can include commenters and things like this. And so, well, yeah, there's no reason to brainstorm about that right now. I have some ideas. I'm going to write that up. I'm going to do some research, try to get it in the kind of form that they like, whatever that is. My understanding is they can be fairly informal. You know, you just take your chance in court if you. So it's usually good to format things into templates when you're doing something legal for yourself. Or actually, yeah, I might run through the NOLO thing and see what the template they want to do. I wonder if that's legal. Anyway, I guess I better not do that. But it just seems like there was something else I was going to say about it. Do that. Start the Indiegogo thing, and then just work on other stuff while we see if the Indiegogo thing. I guess I was just going to talk about like what I was talking about at the beginning. You know, I know how it is. You tell people, oh, well, I'm doing this out of the goodness of my heart because I have a skill, and you know, that's just a famous con man's line. So we're all burnt out hearing that. So I don't know. We get into a funny situation when that really is, you know, trying to make something happen, where that is the case. But another way of looking at it is, you know, I know this is a deficit in the sense that if I was Mr. Salesman Steve Jobs, I could get you to send me the money without the skills to put it up. And then I'd hire somebody or whatever. I don't know. But I'm not that guy. I'm the guy that can do it. You know, if there's anybody into this project and making it happen that sees, oh, well, you're just not promoting it, and Piero, he could do it, but he's just not going to promote. He lacks the skills of how to blow smoke up people's ass. Yeah, I don't, you know. It's like there's people that offer to comment. I'm not even going to stop. I'm not going to patronize anybody. You know, it's just like, I could put this server up. Oh, I know. I was going to talk about, that's right. I was, that was one thing, but the main thing I was waiting around, I was trying to remember. Yeah, why do we need this server? Okay. Well, the need is not super pressing. In one sense, you can see we'll get our videos up and be able to converse. I do think there's a factor of chilling that we just don't understand, but, you know, who knows where, you know, what if conference support, when he started making those videos that started getting him in trouble with YouTube, they were getting him a little bit in trouble with this community of participants that we have. Not everybody was into it, and we're discussing maybe that's, I don't know, too much. Maybe that's maybe you're what's your view of women? You know, it was like good art. whether the art is art you like, you know, there's enough substance there to talk about, to discuss whether it is good or not, whether it's art or not. Now, what if we had been able to argue out those issues, right? That would have been a vibrant conversation. A lot of sub things would have come out. That's a conversation we don't get to have because we can pretend we're going to sit here and have it anyway, but no. Having something actual, an actual reagent. Ideas are like chemicals. And when you subdue some chemicals, you prevent certain chemical reactions. And meanwhile, chemical reactions I don't want to have, you know, various kinds of abuse and just bullshit, that goes on all the time. Right? So it's not like they're protecting us from negative, toxic reactions, and yet there's parts of the conversation that are just subtracted. We don't even know what they would be like. But I think they would have been non-zero, and I would have rather we decide. Because even if they turned out negative and we all said, Fred, that's just too much, we don't think you're not being a good conversant. It was all negative, you should never have done it. Now look at everybody's upset. That would, to me, be better. Because we could have had a real experience around a real message somebody really wanted to convey in the public dialogue, and we would have, reality would have happened. Instead of mommy coming in and trying to prune the garden and make reality like a little mall. Another thing is these advertising-based site-based business models. They pretty much require that you have a complaint-driven system, right? Where you weigh how serious a problem is by the number of complaints it generates. Like for years, there's people doing things that you don't get, you're not supposed to get away with on little local radio stations, and it's the complaint system that is used. And if there's advertisers on there, then there's going to be more complaints. It's going to actually work. The complaints will get generated, and they will get traction based on their weight. Now, there's not necessarily anything wrong with this well, let me put it this way. There isn't anything wrong with this in certain situations. That is weighing things and even weighing complaints, fine. But when you're talking free speech and fair use, and is that porn or not, or art, is that part of the conversation or just wasted space, and these kinds of things that you might want to make a value judgment over, it can't just be complaints. And we are arguing with each other, so that's going to generate people that want to complain about something and looking for something to complain, and they just have flag button, beep, 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 a couple buttons, and when there's enough clicks, then you got a trouble, and then you're not even told no. Look, free speech and fair use is here to protect the public dialogue, and for the public dialogue in the long run, maybe we're just primitive cave people and we couldn't make good use of this anyway. I feel ready to have a place where my data is treated like speech, alright, which means that, yeah, you might start administrative action based on information given by whomever, in other words, complaints, but then you get due process and you get an analytic judicial review system of some sort. You can even have half-assed steps, like we put it in the dog dish and see if the dog eats it. I mean, whatever, but some things stated in the open, an open review process in which the person being accused of something is treated like, hey, you have the right to know what's going on. Is anybody familiar with that kind of principle in our system? And we don't ever get that because, well, it's just that guy's private, it's YouTube's private living room. You don't have the right to demand a fair... No, yeah, so let's make something where we offer what should be offered according to the principles of speech in this land. I take part in this conversation not to give YouTube a business model. I do it because I live in the United States of America and I am in a free country. And if I go to their place and have to have this vibe of, well, it's not really free, it's not really free, you don't really have those rights, you don't really have those rights, we're really trying to make money for Onision, come on, everybody be reasonable, figure out what the game plan is. Fine, I don't want to be there. That's not the vibe that's making me have this conversation. I can still do it out of desperation or just whatever. And quite a long time ago, I learned that whatever you think about technology, the network is the computer, and you do want to go where people are. I'm glad I can go without having a PC, but, you know, if I had to have a PC to use the internet, I suppose I would, you know. So it's nothing wrong with going where the people are. I just want to create a part of the system that respects directly that our content is speech, not entertainment. It might be entertaining, whatever. People could be entertained watching a snail crawl across a rock, but I want it to be considered as speech. And the main thing is to have formal, open, administrative action, right? And also just standards. You know, at the free speech server, the advertising also creates this, well, but what if the kid and family oriented, you know, if we make a free speech server with a content filter system, and perhaps, you know, minors can't even get there. I'm thinking perhaps, you know, there's an age limit. I'd like it to be low, but maybe it's 16 or 14 or something. I don't want to be ageist. Maybe it's 10. But one way or another, we're not saying that you won't see Fred's butt if you're not careful. Right? Okay. Bye.